If you have a Virgo rising, it basically means that you have Virgo in the first house in your birth chart. So the first house is all about the identity, the self. Who are you? What do you act like? What do you look like? Basically, the first house is going to tell you all about that, and the chart ruler as well. So the chart ruler is the planet that rules over the sign in the first house. So Virgo is ruled by Mercury, therefore Mercury is every Virgo rising chart ruler. So depending on the sign, house, and aspects of Mercury in your own birth chart, it's going to give you a different flavor of Virgo rising. The sign of Virgo is intensely parallel with the definition of perfection. Virgo risings are always looking to improve their appearance if you have it in the first house of the self, the body. You know, always looking to improve, whether it be beauty, whether it be, you know, self-confidence. Well, just to give you an example of how important your chart ruler is, just think about how different all of these people are, right? Kris Jenner is a Virgo rising. She's got her Mercury in her Libra second house of money, things that you value, food, all of that. Then we've also got Emma Watson. She has her Mercury in her Taurus ninth house representing general beliefs in this lifetime, traveling, learning, being very spiritual, long-term publication, so that would be something like social media or even movies to a certain extent. Timothée Chalamet is also a Virgo rising, and he has his Mercury in his Capricorn fifth house. So the fifth house is all about creative projects. Obviously, Timothée Chalamet is an actor, and he does a lot of really creative, like really intensive roles. So I think it's really cool to see like how you can see how each of these people, you know, their chart ruler gives them a different flavor of Virgo rising. The sign of Virgo is a mutable earth sign. Mutable signs are known for their ability to adapt to situations very quickly. The energy of what's changing is directed into the first house of self, self-esteem, the body, how you act. You know, Virgo risings are really good at adapting to their surroundings, whether that be melding their appearance to their surroundings, melding their behavior. They're very good at switching around to what they need to be. Now, they're also an earth sign. So the earth signs are the most materialistic of the zodiac signs, essentially meaning that they're very creative when it comes to making and spending money. Also that their focus in life is more important on the things that they can touch, the things they can feel, the things they can see, things that can be proven. So cars, money, morals, all of these things are ruled by the earth sign energy. So directly opposite of the first house, we have the seventh house. So the seventh house is all about relationships, the other people. In traditional astrology, the seventh house is the house of marriage. But Virgos have Pisces in the seventh house. I think Virgo risings tend to be pretty lucky in their relationships, if you ask me. I mean, obviously it's going to depend on your other placements and, you know, the aspects between those planets, but having a seventh house ruled by Jupiter is nothing to ignore. So Jupiter is the planet of good luck, abundance. In astrology, we refer to Jupiter and Venus as the benefics, as in they bring really good fortune. Especially if you're born in the daytime, Virgo risings tend to have a lot more luck in their relationships compared to some of the other rising signs. Having Pisces in the seventh house just means that your type is all about people who are very mystical, people who are very serving of others, and people who are ready to give themselves in order to, you know, improve others. Pisces is a very emotional sign. It's a sign that's very easily swept away. So these are the types of traits that you tend to find yourself attracted to in a partner. So someone who can empathize really well, someone who can make just about anybody feel at home. That's that Pisces energy. Now, the downside of the Pisces energy is the overindulgence, you know, being ruled by both Jupiter and Neptune. Jupiter, obviously the dark side of Jupiter is like being overindulgent, you know, eating too much, sleeping too much, drugs. That's where Neptune kind of comes in, because wherever Neptune is, not only is it super creative, but it's also representative of addiction. So where someone might be really creative, it might be kind of hard for them to know their bounds and know their limits of things. Pisces placements tend to not have that many boundaries. So setting boundaries in relationships is going to be super important for Virgo risings, because over time you're always going to attract people who have this Piscean-like energy. And, you know, with the seventh house being ruled by Neptune as well, definitely go ahead and look at your Jupiter and Neptune placement. But Neptune also rules over addiction. So Virgo risings throughout their life might find themselves kind of like becoming a martyr to certain relationships with, you know, people who may have addiction issues. But obviously you want to look at, you know, the house that Jupiter and Neptune are in and the aspects that they're making, particularly to each other, but especially to the other planets. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about the second house. The second house is all about what's in your wallet. It's all about the money that you have, the money that you gain, the money that you spend. It's basically what's yours. What do you have right now? What are you gonna have in 2 weeks? Like, it is your wallet, it is your bank account. The second house also rules over, you know, your relationship with food, your morals, just how you see the things that you touch. Like, it's kind of how you consistently handle material things like money and food. Now, having Libra in the second house, like I said earlier, Libra is a sign that wants to beautify itself, and it also wants to, you know, keep the peace with other people. So Virgo risings, I definitely think you guys should be careful if people start to ask you for money, because sometimes you might just give them that money just to keep the peace among people. Definitely want to look at your Venus placement to get more information on this. Also, just having that Libra in the second house just means that the things that you put into your body, you know, the things that you're eating, you know, the type of morals that you have, it's almost to make yourself appear better. You know, Libra energy is very much about that crafted type of beauty. I have a feeling that Virgo risings probably have a tendency to feel guilty for eating certain foods because of how it will reflect onto their appearance. But also, having a Venus ruled second house is pretty lucky in my opinion, because Venus naturally rules the energy that's in the second house, dealing with money, you know, material things. And compared to other rising signs, this is a pretty luckier placement to have in your second house. But also, having Libra in the second house can kind of mean that you spend a lot of money on things that make you prettier, such as makeup or like gym memberships, like whatever it is that you feel like makes you more attractive, you might spend a lot more money on that. Now, directly opposite the second house is the eighth house. So if the second house is like your wallet, the eighth house is like your partner's wallet. And should I say, it's not exclusive to just your partner, but the eighth house rules over spirituality. It rules over sexual relationships, these really deep soul-bearing sexual relationships, but also your partner's money or just money that you get from other people. So if you're a writer, it would be ruling over your royalties. If you're an investor, you know, this is where you're going to see all of your investments. Virgo risings have an Aries eighth house. So the eighth house is also a very hidden house. So Aries energy, which is very straightforward, very independent, very fiery. If Virgo risings do invest, you probably have this very straight ahead, like, let's just go get them type of view with investing your money and also spending the money from your partner. Now, your eighth house is ruled by Mars. So money that you get from other people can sometimes cause a little bit of trouble or even arguments in relationships. Virgo risings, depending on their Mercury placement, can be really shy sometimes, but whenever it comes to these really deep, you know, trusting sexual experiences, they are not shy. So they are ready to just jump in and literally do whatever. Now, Virgo risings also have a Scorpio third house. So the way that they communicate is going to be really intense. The third house rules over short-term travel, communication, the way that you think. It rules over your siblings. It rules over your neighbors, you know, people that you see on an everyday basis. Also learning. Scorpio is a sign that is very intense. It has some possession issues. Whenever Virgo risings are talking about something, especially if they're passionate about it, they're going to feel like they kind of have ownership of that subject. Like, they're going to take control of the conversation and be very intense about it. Scorpio energy can be very obsessive. So Virgo risings can talk about their obsessions a lot. Now, having that third house being ruled by both Mars and Pluto can kind of bring up a little bit of trouble for the Virgo risings, especially whenever it comes to communicating things that need a little bit less intensity or that need to be like nicer. But a Mars ruled third house just means that you are not afraid to speak your mind, even if it brings up an argument. Like, you are not scared to just let's talk about it because I don't care. And also having that Pluto be ruling over the third house as well. Pluto does rule over regeneration and also extremes. So there can be lots of transformation that the Virgo risings can have through these conversations that they have with other people. Just an everyday conversation in passing can be really life-changing for Virgo risings. Now, also with the extremes, Virgo risings can go from the extreme of like just really wanting to communicate with everyone, being a huge extrovert, to also being a huge introvert. You know, that's that Pluto energy. It's either one or the other, kind of no in between. So I guess it really just depends on, you know, what your mood is and obviously the aspects that you have to your Pluto. But the ninth house is all about long-term travel. It's all about academia, you know, college. It's going to speak to your college experience a little bit. It's also going to speak to your beliefs. What are your core beliefs about this world there? What do you truly believe comes after death? Like, things like that. It is also a house of lots of spirituality. So Virgo risings have Taurus in the ninth house. So what's really interesting about this is that Taurus is a sign that's representative of money. So I have a feeling that Virgo risings probably tend to spend a lot of money whenever they're on vacation or when they're traveling in general. Taurus rules over luxury and it rules over comfort. So Virgo risings are more likely to choose a vacation where they can just relax and like decompress from the world as compared to going on a huge adventurous type of vacation, which obviously this isn't going to be everyone. Not everyone's going to resonate with this because everyone has their own flavor to their birth chart depending on all their other placements and how those planets are talking to each other in their chart. But You know, Virgo risings are looking for luxury. If they're about to go somewhere, they want to stay in a nice suite. They want to be pampered. They want to go to the spas, all of that stuff. But also just having Taurus in anywhere is going to make that area of your life very stable, very interested in security. So Virgo risings really want beliefs that are going to make them feel good about life, more stable during college. You want to cultivate a very comfortable, you know, beautiful dorm room, comfortable home situation. Now, the 4th house is all about the home, family, personal life. It's not necessarily hidden like the 8th house and the 12th houses are, but it is at the very bottom of the chart. So the least amount of people in your life are going to see this side of you. Now, having Sagittarius in the 4th house is very telling. So Sagittarius is all about freedom. Sagittarius energy is all about kind of just having fun, exploring yourself, allowing yourself to adapt over time, allowing yourself to grow over time, being very wistful, full of wisdom. If you were born in Generation Z, you probably have Pluto and Chiron in your 4th house. So having Pluto in the 4th house is a bit of a hard placement because it kind of just speaks to these power dynamics that happen within your home life. Now, obviously, Jupiter is still ruling over this house. So obviously, you know, your home life, personal life, you know, wherever you live as you get older throughout the rest of your life is obviously going to be pretty abundant, and you're going to still be pretty optimistic even if there have been some really rough and triggering aspects of life coming from your home, family, etc. Now, if you are a part of the people who were born, I think between like 1998 and 2003, who have that Pluto Chiron conjunction, some of the deepest wounds in this lifetime, Chiron, are also going to be healed by the same thing that triggers you, which is also that Chiron-like energy. Chiron is the asteroid of wounded healing. So it's kind of like the bullet, but it's also like the band-aid for that bullet, or, you know, whatever fixes a bullet wound, the surgeon for that bullet, I guess. So if you really want to look into like shadow work and how to heal, you're definitely going to have to look at your home life, look at your roots, your connection with your mom, just your connection to your childhood overall, and the way that you cultivate peace in your life, even if you're an adult. So directly opposite the 4th house is the 10th house. The 10th house is literally the very top of the chart. It's the most seen out of the whole chart. It's what everyone sees. So Virgo risings have a 10th house that is ruled by Gemini. So the 10th house is all about career, reputation, you know, basically how other people see you and that curated version of yourself that you show to other people. It's like, what in yourself do you want to post on social media? Like, you're posting on social media, you're going to like a social event, that is your 10th house energy being activated. Rumors that may have been made about you, or like the conversation that other people tend to have about you, that's going to be represented by your 10th house. Now, having a 10th house that is ruled by Mercury can mean that other people tend to see you as someone who's really smart, who's very intelligent. Obviously, with that Gemini energy, Geminis are very adaptable to their surroundings, much like Virgos, who are also ruled by Mercury. Either way, you're going to be seen as someone who's very creative, someone who is very quick on their toes, very innovative in their career field. And also having Gemini in the 10th house can kind of mean that it's a little harder for you to like pick just one career, because you're going to be good at so many different things. That's that Gemini energy. Now, I also think it's really cool that your 10th house, which is one of the most important houses in your birth chart, and your 1st house, which is another really important house, are both ruled by Mercury. So overall, the way that you view yourself, you know, your self-esteem, you know, who you are, your body, of course, you know, just the way that you communicate with others in general is ruled by Mercury, as well as your career, the work that you put into your career, the work that you put in with your reputation with other people. These are both ruled by Mercury. So for Virgo risings, it's going to be really important for you guys to be very educated on the things that you're talking about, you know, educated on yourself. You know, how do you react, you know, in public situations, especially if you have a Mercury that's close to Venus or Jupiter. This is going to land off very, very well with other people. So either way, Virgo risings just have this spice about them that other people cannot seem to put their finger on. Also have Capricorn in the 5th house. So the 5th house is all about fun stuff. It's all about love. It's all about dating, romance, children, but also lighthearted sex. So it's very different from these really deep, profound connections that, you know, can be found within the 8th house, which is where you have Aries. Now we're going to go ahead and look at the 5th house. The 5th house is a house that's traditionally very fun. Capricorn energy is very strict. It's very strategic. It knows what it wants. You know, it's very interested in, you know, climbing the career ladder, things like that. What I think is interesting about Virgo risings is that both of your sexual houses are ruled by malefics. You know, areas that can be a bit of trouble for the Virgo rising. So even though, once you get really comfortable with someone and, you feel, like you're ready, obviously you're going to want to go straight towards it. Now, whenever it comes to like your lighthearted, your shorter relationships, your lighthearted flings, it's going to take you guys as Virgo risings quite some time to build up to actually having, sex with these people, even if you're not even serious about them. That's just because the nature of Capricorn is very serious regardless, even if it's a topic that's not serious. Lighthearted sex is not one of those things that you can just take lightly. So if you're a Virgo rising, let me know in the comments down below like how your sexual experiences have been defined by both of these malefics ruling in your sexual houses. You don't have to do that. I'm just curious for my own, learning. But directly opposite of the 5th house is the 11th house. The 11th house is all about the groups that you belong to, the long-term friendships that you have, and also communities that you may belong to. So for example, if you are a part of the astrology community, that would be, represented by the 11th house. If you're a part of the One Direction fandom or a certain fandom of something, that would be ruled by your 11th house. Virgo risings have Cancer in the 11th house. So Cancer is the sign that's typically dealing with home and family and, the subconscious as far as, family goes, like those kind of like family patterns that were like put in our head. And the 11th house is ruled by your moon. So you definitely want to take a look at your moon sign, and the moon represents your emotions, your emotional temperament throughout life. Depending on the house and the aspects to your moon, it's going to tell you a lot about, the types of long-term friends and the types of groups that you tend to be attracted to, and, the types of people that tend to be attracted to you in these situations. Virgo risings most likely make very great friends with people who have Cancer placements because it's going to feel natural to just be really good friends with them. Like even if it's someone that you're dating, even without all the romance and, the sex and whatever, if you have 11th house placements with someone, it's going to feel very authentic. Like it's gonna feel like something that can stand the test of time. Now let's go ahead and talk about the 6th house. So the 6th house is all about health. It's all about your job. It's about your daily routine. Like what do you do every day? It also represents your coworkers and pets. So having Aquarius in the 6th house can kind of mean you guys have a very different way of living your everyday life than people would expect. Aquarius is the sign that's very stereotypically different, but it's also very innovative. It's very smart. And if you are a member of Gen Z, then you would probably have both your Uranus and Neptune in the 6th house. Now Uranus brings about very quick, sudden changes, like lightning insight. And it's not like it's bad insight, it's good insight, but it just comes very quickly. So like very innovative in the way that you structure your daily routine. However, having Neptune here also represents confusion and addiction. So I would highly advise Virgo risings to just make sure that you have any like compulsions under control. Like if you're the type of person who drinks, or if you do, if you do drugs or something like that, whatever it is that you do, you're going to be more likely to use those substances every single day. It'll definitely affect your health and your daily routine and possibly even your job. So that's just a warning for you guys. Obviously, this is not going to apply to every single Virgo rising out there, but I do think it's worth noting. Now, directly opposite of the 6th house is the 12th house. The 12th house is everything that's hidden. 12th house speaks more to your subconscious, things that you don't even really realize are there. Things that also might even make you feel a little isolated. So Virgo risings have Leo in the 12th house. Expressing yourself and being just out there, very fun, generating attention towards yourself, being in the spotlight can sometimes make you a little bit uncomfortable, or even make you feel a little bit isolated and smothered. That's the energy of that 12th house. Now, the 12th house is also the energy of hidden enemies. I'm not going to say stay away from Leo placements. However, people who have placements in your 12th house are going to easily be able to see things about your life that you might not even see, and sometimes they might even exploit these things. And I'm not going to tell you like, oh, never talk to another Leo ever again, but I definitely want Virgo risings to pay attention to the types of things that they tell Leo placements. So like Leo moons, Leo suns, Leo Venus, Leo Mars, especially Leo Mars. Definitely be careful with these people. However, there can also be a way that the relationship can be beneficial. Someone who can look into your subconscious can actually help like bring these things to the forefront for you and really help you through a lot of these things. Every Virgo rising is going to have their own flavor of how all of these houses influence their life. And if you'd like to get a personal reading, you can get one on my website, which is linked down below, destinyjanae.com. And yeah, thank y'all so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.